Hey there, island dreamers, locals, and anyone craving a slice of paradise. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Fun in Key West podcast, where the vibe is always laid back, the stories are salty, and the drinks, well, they're definitely frozen. I'm your host, Michelle O'Connor, your unofficial tour guide to the Conch Republic. Whether you're planning your first trip, your fifth trip, or you're just daydreaming about trading the cubicle for the ocean breeze, you are in the right place. Here's the deal. This podcast is your insider's guide to all things Key West. We're talking where to eat, hello, conch fritters and key lime pie, where to drink, spoiler alert, there will be rum, where to stay, and all the quirky, wonderful things that make Key West the one-of-a-kind paradise we all love. Plus, we'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings, festivals, events, maybe even the occasional Hemingway look-alike sighting. And just to keep things spicy, we'll be bringing on some amazing guests now and then, locals, business owners, and people who know the island like the back of their sandy hand. So grab your flip-flops, pour yourself a cold one, and let's escape to the island state of mind together, whether you're tuning in from your hammock or your commute, while wishing it was a hammock. We've got all the Key West goodness coming your way. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun in Key West. Let's dive in. Welcome. Today, we are diving into a topic that so many dreamers and adventurers have been asking about: what it really takes to live in the Florida Keys. From the ocean breezes and conch fritters to the slower pace of life, the Keys are a tropical paradise that calls to so many of us. But let's be real, paradise comes with a price tag. In this episode, we'll explore the cheapest places to live in the Keys. And yes, I'm putting cheap in air quotes. Whether you're dreaming of Big Pine Key's quiet charm, Marathon Central convenience, or even the iconic Key West vibe, we'll break it all down so you can start planning your island escape with realistic expectations. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's talk about making your Keys dream a reality.
Welcome to Fun in Key West, where every day feels like a mini fest. Grab a drink, take it slow. We'll show you where the locals go. Food, fun, and stories to tell. Hidden gems you know so well. Your Key West experts here to say it's fun in Key West every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Fun in Key West podcast. I am so glad that you are here. And, I've been getting some questions, and I thought, you know what? Let's hop on, let's do a podcast and answer some of the questions. Everybody has this dream of living in the Keys, living in Key West, living in Key Largo, Island Murata, any place in the Keys, just to be able to escape and look at life from that different perspective. And if you're joining me live, let me know you're here, and so that I can say hey and hi and do a shout out. In the background, you're probably going to hear Mr. Coffee. He is letting me know very loudly that there is somebody at the door. Who knows? But bear with me as we go through this. So we're going to dive in today into the cheapest places to live in the Keys. Now, I know we talk a lot about the dream of living in the Keys and how amazing life would be living in the Florida Keys. You get the ocean breezes, you get to live in tropical paradise, happy hour by the water every day, conch fritters on demand. You get to explore the coral reefs if you're into snorkeling and all of that. That slower pace of life. Honestly, raise your hand if you are that person who on Sunday nights goes to that home show channel, HGTV, or the other one, and you start to scroll looking for those episodes of people living the Bahama life, the Mediterranean life, the beach life. I mean, I'm going to be guilty and raise my hand too. And so we all have this adventure of being able to explore and live somewhere where life could be a little bit more different. Slower pace of life, like I said. So today we're going to explore a lot of that. But you start to have this envisioning of living in the Keys. Then all of a sudden reality starts to set in. The cost of housing, or maybe the cost of rent, paying those property taxes, insurance, maintenance, all of that. If it's a first home, second home, whatever, it starts to get some reality setting in, doesn't it? And so, as I want to keep the idea of this episode is it is not cheap to live in the Florida Keys. It is not one of the cheapest places in the country to live, but I'm going to give you cheap, and that's in air quotes if you're not seeing me, as a relative term here. So before we get into specific places, like I said, I'm going to set these expectations. Cheap in the Florida Keys is very different from cheap in other parts of Florida, as well as other parts of the country. So let's keep it all in check. But the good news is this isn't a doom and gloom episode. I am just going to set some expectations and some realities. I had a great conversation with somebody the other day about how do you know when it's time to do something different? Maybe you're in corporate and you're wanting to explore something different, or, maybe you've just decided, I want to see what else is out there, but you have those golden handcuffs on and you're sitting there saying, but life is really good because I get this consistent paycheck, all of that. But with every change that comes up in life, you are absolutely going to have to give up something. But what you're giving up, hopefully you're getting something in return that's bigger and better and more adventurous. So keep that in mind as we're talking. And also that this is a snapshot in what we know today. This is not a promise, so always do your research. Be sure to check all that out. And this is identifying those broad terms, those broad trends across the Florida Keys in Florida. Everything changes, everything changes. But as I said, the dream of living in the Keys is valid. It can be done. I meet people all the time who get it done. So let's figure this out. And let's help you understand what that dream may actually look like right now as you're starting to do this. So I don't want to discourage you, but I also don't want to pretend affordable homes are falling out of the sky in the Florida Keys. So with that in mind, let's start with the biggest truth of all. And I've got a new system here, so bear with me as I start to put this into play. So, Chilling with Lucy is saying hi and hello, how are you? So, let me know, Chillin' Lucy, where you are from, and so I can say hey. So, the Keys are big picture. I'm going to be honest. The Keys are expensive overall. They're beautiful, but living in the Florida Keys comes with a premium. Even the most affordable areas are still high compared to that national average. And when people look for Florida's most affordable places, the Keys are usually not what comes to mind, honestly. In the Keys, affordable usually means less expensive than Key West, less expensive than Island Murata, and less expensive than the top end at Key Largo. Affordable in the Keys often also means that you're going to be into an older home. Your space is going to be small. It may be a condo instead of a single family home. You're probably not going to get a whole lot of water views. You're going to be farther away from the heart of the popular areas. Maybe, not so much of you're going to be less polished neighborhoods. So, welcome from Buffalo. I hope everything is going amazing with Chilling with Lucy there in Buffalo. So, let's take a look here. So, if you're not looking for the fantasy prices and what places actually make the most sense for budget conscious buyers, let's look into this. And it's not just about the median home prices in these areas. It's also about the home value. What if you can't afford the home or just trying to not make that decision about a home? Maybe it's rent. What are the extra costs that you need to factor in? Those are in your insurance, property taxes, upkeep. What is it going to take to get you ready for any potential storms? If you're coming in for work, what's that proximity to work? What does that look like? And what are your lifestyle goals? I think if you're buying, you should also ask, as or coming in to rent, some of the other questions you might want to ask yourself is, do I want quiet or do I want nightlife? Do I want a small town feel or do I want walkability? If I'm in looking at Key West, I want to be near Old Town? Do I need to commute for work or for other reasons? Do I want a full-time home or just a rental property? Do I can care more about convenience or am I in it that I can actually do all the work myself? So with that framework in mind, let's talk about the areas that usually come up first in this conversation. The first place a lot of people talk about is Big Pine Key. And it's often one of the first places to look at for a better value. It appeals to nature lovers. You're going to be right there next to the key deer conservative. The key deer. You're going to be a little outside of the hustle and bustle of Key West. And Lucy, I will call you Lucy. I hope everything's well going in Buffalo. And thanks for joining. If you're looking for less tourist traffic, you want to be in the lower keys, Big Pine might be one of those options. It has all the natural beauty, it has an open feel, so the space feels open. You have more of a residential vibe. This is where a lot of people live, so that you don't have a lot of tourists there. And you, like I said, you have a very strong connection to local wildlife. So you have the National Key Deer Refuge there. So they're endangered and you can go check in on them. You also have Blue Hole. You're close to Bay of Honda. You get the darker night skies. So if you're into star watching, you can have that. And so this is where living in paradise feels more rustic and has more of a local small town feel. It's a little more affordable compared to many of the other Keys areas. You get a strong quality of life for the right buyer. I mean, you got to figure out what you're looking for. And it's great for people who want peace and a slower pace. On the opposite side, it's not cheap by the national average. You do have fewer conveniences than some of the other built up areas. Insurance and maintenance costs are still going to be something that you're going to need to factor in. And inventory for both sales and rentals can be limited. If Big Pine is the quieter, nature heavy option, next area is a little different because it often gets overlooked, and that's Tavernier. And it's a better possible value option in the Upper Keys. It gets overshadowed a lot by Key Largo and Island Murata. But this can be an interesting place to explore if you're looking for affordable housing options, again, by the Keys standards. Tavernier is good for someone who wants upper Keys locations. Maybe you need to be closer to Homestead or Miami or Fort Lauderdale. You get the easier mainland access, so you're a little closer to a lot of those larger stores, big box stores, all of that. It has a more practical residential feel and it gives you that lifestyle. You can be in the Keys, living in the Keys, but very close to the larger cities. It can offer a good value compared to some of the more high profile nearby areas. A lot of people enjoy just being in the upper Keys versus the lower Keys. And it gives you that balance between convenience and island life. Now, the cons, it's still expensive compared to other areas in Florida. It may not feel cheap once you start looking at some of the actual listings. So go into whatever, your app is that you dream about, looking at dream homes on, go explore that. And rent and purchase prices can still be pretty tough to swallow. But it's more realistic than some pricier of the other dream markets that you have out there. And it's a good example of how best place depends on budget and priorities. So you can give your idea. Now let's talk about one of those best known areas in the Keys because a lot of people immediately assume it should be on the affordable list, and that is Key Largo. Believe it or not, it is not one of the cheapest places in the Keys. It is one of the most recognizable names in the Florida Keys outside of Key West. It's popular for boating and scuba diving, and you have access to the coral reefs, and it's extremely close to the mainland of South Florida. And you've got a lot of parks and outdoor activities, and it has a very strong lifestyle appeal because of that proximity to the mainland. It may feel like the easiest keys to move in because of location, but it's not one of the cheapest places to live in the Keys because of its location. You get the balance of living in the Keys, but you also are close to the mainland. And because of that, it is a very desirable location, and that translates usually into higher pricing. So remember, convenient does not always mean affordable. So some pros about Key Largo: it has great access, outdoor lifestyle. It has a strong appeal for buyers who are wanting the Upper Keys living location because of the proximity to South Florida. And it may be a perfect home location for the right person. But the cons, like I mentioned, you're going to have some higher housing costs. It can be expensive for buying and renting. And it's usually not the first place that you're going to look for bargain pricing. So if Key Largo is more convenience than bargain, what about the middle keys? So in the middle keys, we have first Marathon. This is often part of the affordability conversation. It can appeal to people who want more of a central location. So you're right, Marathon's right smack dab in the middle of the Keys. You have everyday livability. You have some of those modern conveniences. It's very centrally located. You have access to services, and you still have access to the boating and the water. And Marathon feels a little more residential than vacation focused in some of the areas. Now, this area can be tricky because prices actually vary by neighborhood and property type. So there are condos and single family homes, and some are more resort orientated versus residential. So you're going to have a little bit more of a variance in your pricing in Marathon. One part of Marathon may look like it's a really good value, and another may be completely off the charts and not available and out of reach for you. So, this is where the median home price doesn't tell the full story because Marathon overall may look affordable, but there are pockets in there that may not. Marathon offers a really good option, though, for full time living. It provides that practical balance of Keys lifestyle and daily functions, and it's a great location. It's right smack dab in the middle. Again, the cons, though, it's not universally affordable. Rent can still be pretty high, and waterfront or updated properties obviously jump up in price because there isn't a whole lot to do. Much like probably where you live, properties that are conveniently located next to everything that everybody wants to be next to and are completely updated, and you walk in and it's turnkey, those are going to be the places that are going to go fast and usually have a bidding war on. And if there's a place everybody loves to dream about, that's Key West, right? It's iconic, it's lovable, everybody wants to be there. It's an emotional favorite for a lot of people. It has the history, the nightlife, food, culture. It's walkable, especially if you're in Old Town. It has that endless character and that endless vibe. But it's usually one of the most expensive places in the Keys. It may be the best place to live in terms of vibe for some people, but not the best place if you're looking for affordable and that is your main goal. Key West is a great place for people who thrive on that energy and culture. And you've got all your restaurants and your happy hours and the charm and the local flavors and all of that. Key West offers incredible personality. It's a lifestyle appeal, and there is so much to do in Key West. Obviously, though, as you start to scroll through some of the Facebook groups about people trying to find a home and live in Key West, you have high pricing, you have high rents, there's a lot of competition. And Key West is probably an area that a lot of people don't really focus on if they're looking for affordability. So if somebody loves Key West, but not the price tag, that's where nearby areas start to enter into the conversation. So one of those places could be Stock Island. It's worth mentioning because it is so close to Key West. It's its own entity. It's its own identity. It has its own place and structure and restaurants and vibe, but may offer a more affordable option. But again, I'm going to keep that affordable in air quotes because it's not cheap in the absolute sense, but it's maybe more realistic than being right in the heart of Old Town in Key West. So it could be a more practical option. You're probably going to have a little bit more options for rent and everything over there. It is still expensive though, and inventory probably is one of those. In Stock Island is one of those places that comes and goes very quickly. So at this point, you may be noticing a pattern here. Even the cheaper options in the Keys are not exactly cheap. But you know what? I don't want to crush the dream. It can be done. There's people who do it every day, right? So the dream of living in the Keys is very valid. But I think you have to approach it from a perspective of strategic and being strategic with your budget and your expectations. And I think that's going to help a lot. So it's not always an idea of trying to find the cheapest place that, okay, this fits within our budget. This is where we'll live. I think what you need to step out and in your strategic perspective, look at it. What is the right fit? What is the best value for you? And what is the lifestyle you're looking for? And does that place offer that lifestyle? And find a place that supports your priorities. So those questions that as you start to sit down and really, if you're really wanting to move to the Keys or move, let's be honest, if you want to move to any island or any place that is just absolutely amazing to you, put in question this. Again, and I'm going to talk about these questions we asked earlier. Are you looking for nightlife or are you looking for absolute peace and quiet? Do you want a small town feel or do you want to have access to lots of activities? Are you into nature and wanting to explore the dark night sky? Or are you into the old town charm of Key West and you just want to be able to walk and explore and have that access to all of those activities? Do you want to be closer to the mainland? Is that more important to you? Are you buying now? Are you going to rent for a while? Or are you planning and dreaming about this for later? So, and before anybody starts comparing listings, there are a few hidden costs that I want to throw in that matter as much as your sticker price. And some of the online apps and real estate portals do list those out, but keep those in mind. There's costs that are part of living in the Keys that go beyond the purchase price of the home. You got to think about property taxes. Property taxes in Florida usually are not cheap, but the closer to the water you are, closer to impact areas, those are going to have historical pricing attached to it because historically this may have been hit or there has been a lot of payouts. If you follow what we do, there's a lot of times we have conversations about hurricane season, and those seasons have impact on future property insurance pricing. So be sure to watch for that. Property taxes are based a lot on that value, but also the attachments to that are the amenities that those property taxes also pay for. So you put that in. Some of those other insurances that you're going to be looking at are flood and other insurances that you add on. You have salt air, believe it or not, does a lot of wear and tear on a home. And so there's a lot of maintenance costs that you have to put into that, as well as your car, if you're going to bring a car. So look at those maintenance costs. What is those upkeeps going to be? If you have to commute for your job, what does that commute look like? What is the condition of the home? Is it move-in? Do you have to do renovations? And what is the access to your daily life, those activities that you're really going to be wanting to look at doing? So if we're narrowing this down for someone dreaming about making the move, here's how I'd frame the short list. Big Pine Key is a strong contender for best affordability relative to the rest of the Keys. It's ideal if you love nature and you're looking for something quiet and scenic. Tavernier is a great Upper Keys value play. It's practical and very often overlooked. Marathon and the Middle Keys, it's worth watching. If it's worth watching, the pricing, it depends heavily on property type and the neighborhood that you're looking at. Stock Island is a good alternative if you are focused on being near Key West. Key Largo is appealing. It's convenient to the mainland, but it's usually not the cheapest. And Key West is iconic, desirable, but rarely the most affordable option. So the cheapest places in the Keys are still expensive compared to the national average. So the better question that you need to ask yourself as you start to explore the idea of moving to the Florida Keys is, where can I get the best quality of life? Where can I get the best value? And where can I realistically make this dream work? And that's really the heart of it right there. Living in the Florida Keys, like I've said, it may not be cheap, but it's still worth it for the right person. Sometimes it's not the best place. It's the best place is not always the flashiest place. Sometimes the best place is the one that fits your budget, your lifestyle, and your priorities. So dreaming about moving to the Keys is still okay. I think you need to dream, and if this is absolutely laying on your heart that you absolutely want to move to the Keys, do your research, but come into it with realistic expectations. And I think having those realistic expectations helps you make that dream much more achievable and smarter. So if you were to live anywhere in the Florida Keys, where would you choose? Would you go for the quiet of Big Pine Key? Would you go to Marathon for its practical location? Would you go to Key Largo because of its convenient location? Or would you go full on Key West charm and live in Key West? So thank you so much for joining me today as we talked about the cheapest places to live in the Florida Keys. And as I said, that is absolutely a relative term, because being cheap in the Florida Keys does not necessarily mean that is cheap by national standards. But I think if that is your dream, I gave you some ideas of how to strategically approach that dream so it can be possible. If you're looking for just ways to explore the Keys and figure out, you know what, I've not been outside of Key West very much, and I probably should explore more of the Keys to figure out, okay, which island is best for me, my lifestyle, what I want to achieve, be sure to head over to FunInKeyWest.com, because we do lots of guides over there that take you up and down the Keys and let you explore everything from Key Largo all the way down to Key West. And while you're over there, check out our book club and also sign up for our newsletter so that you can get our weekly newsletter that has a trivia question in it. And if you get it right, you get to be in the drawing for a Fun in Key West swag box every month. I am Michelle with Fun in Key West. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I will be talking to you later. Bye. Well, I hope today's conversation gave you some clarity and inspiration for your dream of living in the Florida Keys. Remember, it's not just about finding the cheapest place. It's about finding the best fit for your lifestyle, priorities, and budget. Whether it's the quiet beauty of Big Pine Key, the practicality of Marathon, or the vibrant energy of Key West, there's a slice of paradise waiting for you. Don't forget to visit FunInKeyWest.com for guides, tips, and resources to help you explore the Keys and find your perfect spot. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter and join the fun with trivia, giveaways, and more. Until next time, keep dreaming big and chasing that island life. See you soon.
Some days call for some oomph to amplify your everyday look. Like when you want the look of false lashes without the extra effort. Reach for Thrive Cosmetics Liquid Lash Volumizer Mascara. Or when you want all eyes on your smile, keep Empower Gloss Ultra Glossy Lip Serum in your bag. It's a burst of 24-hour hydration that smooths like a serum, shines like a gloss, and can be worn sheer or layered. You'll also look and feel your best with Thrive Cosmetics. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin, not against it. And for every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Cosmetics product, you're helping communities you care about too. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.